Have you lost your job? Have you lost a loved one? Are you exhausted caring for your parents, for your kids? Well, you can find immediate relief when you read Sheila Mack's new #1 bestseller, Bootstraps and Bra Straps. It contains the Boots formula to move from rock bottom back into action in any situation, especially right now. If life has knocked you down, pick yourself up with Bootstraps and Bra Straps. Get your copy at www.SheilaMack.com today.
Are you ready for a reboot? Welcome to the Sheila Mack Show, reality at its finest. History reminds us those hit hardest often become the change makers. This year, we've all hit crazy economic, social, and emotional rock bottoms. We all get knocked down. Something hits globally, locally, personally. It affects our health, finances, our relationships. We have to recreate a business or career. Each show, Sheila and her special guest will be sharing their reboot stories, guiding you with real solutions to upgrade and up-level emotionally, mentally, physically, spiritually, and financially. Here on NBC's KCAA Radio, Mondays at 1 and Wednesdays at 7 p.m. Pacific Time. If you're ready to pull yourself up by the bootstraps and bra straps, enjoy a listen. Here's Sheila.
Welcome to the Sheila Mack Show, reality at its finest. Here we have real people sharing real stories and actionable steps to help you reinvent, rebuild, and reboot your business and personal life on your terms. I'm your host, Sheila Mack, and today we have special guest Maggie Dong. Maggie is a fitness and life coach and the host of the Mind Muscle Enlightenment podcast. She helps women master their physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual fitness so that they can attract their dream relationships. All right. Well, welcome to the show, Maggie.
Thank you for having me, Sheila. I'm so excited to be here.
And one of the things I'd like to start off with is based on my new best-selling book, Bootstraps and Bra Straps, the formula to go from rock bottom back into action in any situation. This year, we have had every single situation happen to us globally. So I'd love to hear maybe a story about how you personally or in your business maybe had to overcome an obstacle and how you got back on track.
Yeah, absolutely. So when I was 16, that was the turning point of my life because I lost my mom that year to breast cancer. So after that happened, I think my entire life just took a 180 because 2 years before that, when I was 14, my dad actually got put in jail. So after I lost my mom when I was 16, it was just me and my little brother, who is 5 years younger than me. So I needed to then start taking responsibility for everything in my life and for my brother and for my family pretty much, because that's what my mom was doing. So I took on her role. And at that time, I also came down with an eating disorder because after losing my mom, I was trying to hold on to some type of control in my life. And it just felt like food and exercise was my only source of control that I could hold on to. So I came down with an eating disorder, had anxiety, depression, was dealing with grief. And at that time, as a 16-year-old, I was also applying for college. I was going to my senior year. So it was a lot for me at that time. But I took it upon myself to, go to therapy, to come out of that eating disorder, find a healthy and balanced lifestyle while working on my mental, emotional health and dealing with grief. So I came out of all of that and went to college and started a business, and then actually dropped out of college and moved to San Diego. So here we are.
Wow. That is quite an experience to happen at such a young age. It is very hard. And the grieving situation, it's a journey that everybody is different and handles grief differently. It's such a sacred journey. And when it hits you at a young age, it's just kind of hard because at that age, you don't really think about losing a loved one that soon, maybe a grandparent, Maybe,
Mm-hmm.
it's a little different. And yes, that is, and it tends to show up in different situations, eating disorder, or for some people, it's a drug addiction or other addictions or some other coping mechanisms that show up a lot of times, especially at that age. I can only imagine having young friends that they can't even fathom. So they
Mm-hmm.
can't really support you the way you would want friends to support you. So it's wonderful that you were able to get grief counseling and support that way, to help you get through that. And then
Yeah.
you have to take on the role of caring for your little brother.
Yeah, so I actually ended up finding a guardianship family for him. So he's now with them, and I am in San Diego just doing my own thing right now.
Oh, yes, yes. So that is good. And yeah, just stay close, keep in touch. It's a tough situation. And I know for me at a young age, I lost a lot of relatives in a very short period of time. I lost my mother, my father, and both sets of grandparents,
Wow.
all within 3 years. And I was pregnant back to back with kids. And then I had just adopted 3 children. So I have a total of 6 kids, and it all hit at once. And it was just, I was still quite young myself. And it was a lot because I didn't have anybody else to, I was the only child, the only grandchild on both sides. There was nobody to do everything. And
Mm-hmm.
so you were even younger. And I know it's just, it was a lot. And so I respect the fact that you found a way to help people. You helped yourself, and now you're helping other people. And
Thank
that's
you.
beautiful. Yes. I'd love to hear a little bit more about some of your programs, that you have. You have a lot of different programs you're doing now to help women get through and back on track.
Yeah, so I currently have two programs because I specialize in the four areas of fitness. So the physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual, because it's through my own journey and through going on my fitness journey, overcoming eating disorder, I realized that if I just conquered that physical aspect, it wasn't enough. So I needed to work on the other areas of my life as well. So I came up with the four areas of fitness. And between my two programs, I cover the four areas. So I have the Confidently Lean method. That is where I help women with their physical fitness. So we work on our nutrition, exercise, getting your best body, your best health, and doing that in a sustainable and healthy way. And the other program is Magnetic Attractor, and that's actually for us to work on our mental, emotional, and spiritual fitness so that we can attract a love into our life.
Mm-hmm. Yes. And it's really interesting. What I found is there are people that maybe fall out of a relationship, let's say, and there are some that are, they quickly are looking for the next relationship without doing that work. And they tend to then find the next relationship is the same person they just left in a different body. And it's not the person that they're really aligned with. And I always feel like, well, because you're not aligned, you're
Mm-hmm.
not giving off the energy of who you really are. And once you show up for yourself and you're able to, like, you can't find happiness in this other person, you need to be happiness in yourself. That's going to attract the other person. If you expect the other person to bring you all this happiness, that's a lot to put on another human being. And
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I can only imagine if a guy was like, "Hey, you want to make me happy 24/7?" I'd be like, "No, thank you." That doesn't job I want to do. So that's not very attractive. And so that healing work, that time, I think, and getting into a program like yours where you're able to work with somebody or with a group and get your own alignment right, so you're attracting the right life partner, the right relationships. And I think that even it overflows when you're aligned. It overflows into your personal friendships, your family relationships, other relationships you have in your life, because you're in tune with your values and moral compass. That's what I feel.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree with everything that you just said because we attract exactly what we are. So a lot of times people say, well, I want somebody who, is fit, but if you're not physically fit, you're not going to attract somebody who is. So it starts with ourselves. And the whole point of the program, Magnetic Attractor, the point is for you to eventually be able to attract love into your life. But really what we work on in the program is finding that love for yourself and finding all the aspects of yourself that you already have, but right now people are looking outside of themselves for these things. They're looking for it in somebody else, but you have to be able to find these things in yourself and pull that focus onto working on you, and that other person will just show up in your life because you are going to attract that person into your life effortlessly. So there's no like chasing. You don't have to go on these dating apps, which I've done. I've done all of these things, and I realized that it's exhausting to chase after people. So when you put the focus onto yourself, the right people will start showing up in your life.
Exactly. And it's an attractive force because people want that.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not about the perfect shape or the perfect anything. It's about you being at your perfect match for yourself. And I guess sharing your energy and your truth and living your best life. And that means every day we're always improving, getting better, always. That's part of life too. But it's when you're living that truth. And I think a lot of times when people are trying to date, let's say, many times people will go in wearing a mask. And this year we have a lot to talk about with masks off, masks on. I don't want to wear a mask. And so, but there's this mask that we wear that society, oh, well, I need to do all these things. I need to, put injections and, do all this facial stuff or be this size or do this and that. And it's like, no, or pretend like you like everything that other person likes. Just because that's what you like. They're good looking, or they make a lot of money and they're secure people, whatever. But if they're not aligned and you're trying to pretend to be something you're not to make that other person happy, eventually you're going to stop playing that game.
Exactly.
You're not going to want to, because your beautiful truth, like, you may love yoga and dancing and singing and traveling the world, and they might be a homebody that is boring and they like different things, and maybe they like to hike and you like to go to the gym, but whatever it is, and there's things that we all have differences that, okay, you go do that, I'm going to go do this, and you can have a beautiful relationship. But when one person is pretending to try to get the approval, that's the chasing thing you were talking about. That chasing thing is when you're chasing somebody else, you're leaving yourself behind.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's like when you're chasing, I always tell people, when you're chasing someone, it implies that they're running away. So the more you chase, the more the other person's going to run. So once you stop chasing, once you focus on yourself, love will come chase you because you start pulling that into your life. You start being that attractive force that we were talking about. So there is no chasing when you are so focused on yourself and you know your worth, because once you know how much you're worth and you're able to speak your authentic truth, you're able to show who you really are, people are going to be magnetically drawn to you.
Very true. I know I got divorced. I was in an arranged marriage, let's just say, and it didn't work out. We were very not aligned. And, we had these kids, all this stuff, but we were just not a match. And I was about as interested in getting into the next relationship as like I mean, I could go to the dentist and have teeth pulled, and that would have been more fun for me. I just wasn't in the mood, you know. I wanted to work on me. And as I was working on myself, I am not like cover model, but you know what? I attracted so many people, and I was like, could you all please just leave me alone right now? I wasn't chasing anybody. I was probably running the other way. And it was because I was doing the self-worth at work. And I was really, it's self-worth too. And it's that thing about, I was just speaking my truth and being really honest. And I think that was very attractive, I guess. And it was so interesting because the less I was interested, and my friends would be like, you know, they're looking and they're chasing and they're trying so hard to get into these relationships. And I'm like, I don't even know. I'm not, I wasn't dressing the part, you know, I wasn't doing anything. And I was like, I don't even know what I'm doing. But that's what it was. That is what it is, that when you find your truth and you're really solid in it.
Yeah,
Yes.
absolutely. It's like when I know exactly what you're talking about, because back when I was chasing and back when I was trying so hard to get into a relationship, it wasn't happening. And the moment I stopped and the moment I started focusing on myself, all of these people just started coming to me because I was being this person that I actually wanted to be with. Like I always tell people, before you try to get into a relationship with somebody else, become the woman or the man of your dreams, and people will come to you.
Right. Yes. And you know what's really funny now, energetically, this works with money. This works
Yeah.
with money. Is I've always been very blessed in my business ventures and all that. I've always been an entrepreneur. I've been able to put all the kids through school, do a lot of it myself. The ex never worked a day in his life, really. And so I did everything myself. And honestly, I never really tried that hard.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I enjoyed business and working, but it wasn't this chasing money thing. It was more like I enjoyed serving the people I was working with and my clients and helping people and this and that. And that made a difference. And the only times I ever had trouble was when I listened to people that were like, oh, do this and start chasing this. And I was like, okay, I'll try to do that. And I was like, it would just run away from me. I said, well, that's weird. Why would I want to work all these hours chasing something when it rolled? And I said, I even have a mantra. I said, money, it just rolls up the street, knocks on my door, and jumps into my pockets. It was just happening. And I would invest in something and it would double, and I would do this and that and it would just go up. And so that's how it's been. And so that chasing is for anything. I think chasing your dream job. If you're listening in right now and you're frustrated because this year you've hit a rock bottom, maybe you lost your career, or you think, darn it, I can't get this book published right now, or something like that, don't feel like it's the end. Now for me, I had a loss in December 21st last year. My youngest son, Michael, passed away at age 22. He had Wolff-Parkinson-White syndrome, which is a heart condition, from 5th grade on, and he passed away. And I put my book on hold until August, and we just needed a pause. And I had my family with me, and we took time off. And you know, the publisher I was working with, everybody understood. But, you know, they were like, how long do you need? And I said, I need until I need, and I'll let you know when I'm ready. And I really wanted to get my book out to help other people, but I needed it to be the right time. And at the moment you think, oh gosh, you know, but we had everything planned for this one thing, you know, this book launch, da da da. Well, you know what? It came out in perfect time. It still made the bestseller. It's doing everything it's supposed to do. And so just know, if you have something you've put on hold, don't worry about it. You just keep taking the next right action. You don't have to chase anything. You just allow and let timing show up. As long as you're doing the next right steps, everything will fall into place.
I love that. And it's so true for anything, because like you said, money is just this type of energy, and when you're chasing after the energy, it's moving away from you. And with anything, the more you, like, the irony is like this, the more you stop caring, the more the more these things show up in your life. Because if you're just so confident that they are going to come, that's when the universe actually delivers that to you. Like, you have to have that level of trust in the universe and in the process, because like you said, with your book that you put on hold, I think a lot of people would have been very stressed out, like, oh my gosh, like this was planned and now I'm ruining the plan and it's not going to work out. But you had that faith and that trust in the process that it was going to work out whenever it's supposed to work out, and you get to take however long you needed to make sure that you're feeling your best, and things worked out perfectly because you had that trust.
Yeah. Yeah. And, if you're listening in, the other thing, if you don't have a job right now, the other thing that worked for me over the years is when I did have a downtime, a down season in my business or whatever, I would go volunteer. And I've always been like a serial entrepreneur and a serial volunteer person as well. And so for the causes that I care about, I volunteered a lot. And every single time that I volunteered, and I would put in a lot of hours because I had fun, I would get into leadership positions and I would be offered jobs, and they would be side jobs that I would do. I mean, like $10,000-$20,000 a month side jobs. And so that was from me volunteering. And the reason is because they saw my talents, they saw what I could do, how I could work with people. And they said, here, fill out the application. After the fact, they already hired me and offered me the job. I never applied. And I was like, well, I'm already doing this, I might as well get paid. And that's great. And it wasn't, I didn't really care about the money. I cared about the people I was serving. And that was the difference.
Yeah, absolutely. And when you just give without any expectations of receiving, that's when life pays you back tenfold. Because when you are, going to business, going to jobs, thinking of, well, what can I get out of this? What's in it for me? That's when you actually don't get anything, because you haven't given anything. You haven't delivered value. It's when you give so much value into the world, people will want to pay you and people will want to hire you because they see what you've been doing. And it's when you don't have any expectations, that's ironically when you actually get everything that you want.
Right. So that's it. I mean, I guess, and there's something about expectations of the self. This year has been a tough year for everyone. It's been a weird year. We've hit rock bottom overall. And so love yourself. It's that self-love. It comes back to, okay, oh, maybe there was a COVID-20 that happened. Oops. And okay, so now we're getting back on track. Fine. Don't hate yourself through it. Love yourself through whatever it is. You're going to get back on track. Like you said, you had some time. You gave yourself that gift of time to heal, to walk through the grieving process, and to love yourself back into health with your fitness and wellness. And that's a love that you're giving yourself. That's not an anger. It's not a hate. It's not a judgment of what went wrong. It's like looking for everything that you do right. Oh, what did I do right yesterday? What little thing did I change that's better? And give yourself credit. This has been a year. And so, and things happen that throw us off course. And then every time that we get back on track, we're stronger and we get thrown off a little less. And it's easier to get back on track because life has waves no matter what we do. So.
Yeah. And, the way that you talk to yourself is it's so important. It plays such a big role, because I remember when I used to talk to myself in the mirror, like picking apart every single part of my body out of hate, that actually didn't create the change that I wanted to create, because I hated myself so much and I just wanted to rip myself apart. But it's when I came from that place of self-love and I said I wanted to change, because I love myself. And that's when I created that healthy lifestyle, because I didn't feel the need to go beat myself up at the gym every day. I didn't feel the need to starve myself because I hated my body so much. I said I wanted to love myself into the person that I'm meant to be. And that makes such a big difference in how you talk to yourself, like saying the things to yourself that, you know, a lot of the times people talk to them so negatively, like
Yeah.
they wouldn't say these things to anybody else, and they wouldn't allow anyone else to say these things to them, but they talk to themselves in that way. So by changing that and being kinder to ourselves, because yeah, it's been a rough year for all of us, and figure out what it is that you learned through this time, because I'm sure we've all grown this year, no matter what the circumstances, and take the lessons with you instead of looking at everything that went wrong and everything that you wish you could have done.
Definitely. And I think that that's something that you can rewire your brain and retrain it. You can really, there's this neuroplasticity thing that happens. So every time you go to a negative, figure out a positive to fill it in with and switch it up. And I know that's for tragic situations that happen, as well as just, you know, self thoughts that are negative, anything like that. And as you practice that, it becomes a habit that, oh, when you start to go there, you pick up on a positive instead. And so, you know, a challenge this week, and I think it's more for women than men. It tends to be the case that commercials, the world, marketing is so hard on women. I mean, I remember I went to get my kids' braces, and in the office they had marketing. They had these commercials in the waiting room about wrinkles and Botox. And, you know, I felt like the sexiest person on the planet. When I walked in, I was like, I feel good today. And this is a long time ago. This is like 20 years ago. Okay. So 15 years ago. So anyway, so it's a long time ago. And I'm thinking I'm great. And I go in there and I'm stuck watching these terrible commercials. And I'm thinking by the time, sorry, this is an 800 number. I don't know why I have the phone on, but by the time the appointment was over, I was kind of looking in the mirror and I was like, oh my gosh, is there a wrinkle? And I felt kind of shitty. We need to bleep that, but I felt bad. And I thought, you know what? It wasn't me.
Right.
It was a programming just from that repetitive, you know, you've got to, and it was stupid. It was ridiculous because I mean, I didn't really have a wrinkle back then at all. and so it was all in my head, implanted by this marketing. And so that's a challenge to go in front of the mirror and just, instead of finding the one part you might need to work on or want to work on, fine. But look at all the sexy parts and the great parts. Oh my gosh, look at how beautiful my eyes are. Look at how great this and that is. And give yourself compliments. And then, you know, as you're working on yourself, oh, look, that's getting better. And go to the positive. And that's a challenge at first, but then it gets easier. And it's silly, but if you can do that, that's really going to help. And it's not ego. It's not like, oh, I'm so good. It's more like honoring the good parts of you instead of, would you ever, if you have a child, you know, would you ever say, oh, you're ugly? You got all these things wrong. Well, why would you talk to yourself like that? You would say, like to my children, I say, oh, you're smart. You're beautiful. Yeah. You know, you're getting a D in English. You got to pick that up a little bit, honey. But, you know, let's work on these things. Definitely got to do some homework. So, okay, maybe you got to go to the gym more, but it's all loving. It's all positive, loving, but wow, look at you in math. You really, and you do so good in the gym, well, on track or whatever. And you give the positive to your kids, and then they want to go fix the other pieces or work on it, and they're happy about it. It's not the negative. So you're changing the way you talk to yourself. It's not saying, oh, well, it's okay, we'll just, you know, not do anything. It's just the way you say it.
Like you can love yourself and still want to make a change, but
Exactly.
it's coming from a place of love. And I love how you brought up that the way that you talk to your kids, like you would never say all of these things to your kids. And if we can understand that even as adults, deep inside of each one of us is pretty much a child that just wants to be loved. And once I realized that, I still had all of these traumas from my childhood, and growing up I wasn't loved the way that I wanted to love. That's why I now love myself the way that I would have wanted to be loved by my parents and by my family, because I was never loved in that way. And I feel like a lot of people experience that when they grow up. They realize that, well, when they were kids, they were never loved the way that they wanted to be loved. And that's why now they start, picking themselves apart because they feel like they don't deserve that love. They feel like they're not worthy of it. But it's when you realize that when you start picking yourself apart, that's just a sign for you that you need to give yourself more love, because your inner part of yourself is calling out for that love. It wants to be loved, and you have to give it to yourself.
Yes, that's so true. And that goes back to relationships. There's a study that shows that, the love that we're attracted to, the type of love is the type of love we received or knew as a child. So you had some kind of unhealthy love going on at home, maybe a narcissistic parent, or something wasn't quite right, or there was some abuse or neglect or whatever. You're going to find that same kind of love, that same kind of person, and you'll be attracted to them. And you'll be like, this feels like home, like the home you grew up in, like love. And then when you realize later, then you're older, and you realize, holy smokes, that was the best they could do. And maybe there was something else going on that they couldn't, you're not blaming, but it's just, healthy love starts with self-love. And then once you start self-love and healthy love, you change your standards. So you lose some friends, relationships that are not aligned, but then you start only being attracted to and only attracting healthy love. And there's a lonely space in between, because you've had to leave some people that were not aligned with healthy love. And that doesn't mean you don't like them. And maybe you may lead them to something better later, because they'll be like, hey, I like the way you've got your life going on right now. But it's something that a lot of times you'll have to do in life. And it's for whatever reason, that makes a big difference. That awareness, just having the awareness switches that program so that you don't keep attracting the same person in a different body.
Absolutely. Like if like we all have our childhood traumas and all that. If we don't heal that ourselves, then we'll be faced in situations in our relationships that force us to heal these things, because like you said, we will be attracted to the people who are kind of like our parents. And if we don't, forgive our parents, we don't work through those things, we'll keep on attracting the same type of relationship. And you also mentioned that when you're working through this time, you're going to lose some people. And that's just natural. And throughout my life, I have lost so many people, but then I've also gained so many relationships that serve me on this next level. But yeah, there is that time period of loneliness where you feel like you're the only one going through this, but understand that that's temporary. And in the end, you're going to find people who do resonate with you, and it's going to be worth it. And it also comes down to setting those boundaries with people, because I realized that as I was doing more things, as I started my business, as I, started leveling up in my own life, people, I had those people in my life who just came in every time and just almost like sucked my energy out because and it's exhausting. So you have to set those boundaries for yourself because you love yourself enough to not allow unconditional access to you from all these people. And I tell people that you can love every single person, but it doesn't mean you have to grant everyone access to you.
Very true. And the boundaries come with the self-love too. And if you have trouble with boundaries, that's something that slowly you learn. And once you learn them, they never go away because they help you. And it may be that you grew up where there wasn't a lot of boundaries at home, or the lines were very muted. You know, they weren't, there were not clear boundaries at home. And so that does make a difference when you learn how to love somebody else and help them without doing all the work yourself. And that's something I do want to share, that I share in most of my shows. This year, people have gone through so much and they need a lot of help, and you want to help everyone. And here is a way to help everyone easily in your life in a simple way. Just remember 211. Have you heard of 211, Maggie?
I have not.
Okay, so 211, back in the day, it used to be 411 was information. Before we had Google, before we had, you know, our cell phones and all that, you would have to dial from the rotary phone 411 for information. 211 is information for resources. So if you need anywhere in the United States and all the province in Canada, every time you dial 211 or you Google 211 and your state or province, you will find resources for your area. So that'll be, where's the food bank, how to get rental assistance, how to get mortgage assistance, job assistance, how to get mental health help, suicide prevention hotlines, every single thing for that area that people right now may really need, who may never have ever needed those resources before because of all these things going on with COVID and everything, and job loss, this and that. They may need that. And so if you have, maybe you work somewhere, ask your employer, or if you have a business, post that information. Sometimes you work with people, you don't know what's going on at home. There might be abuse going on, something might be happening, stress, depression, who knows. You post that, at least there's a way. People don't always ask for help when they need it, but if they see that, they'll be able to check it out and get some help. Or if somebody asks you, you can't give everybody assistance when maybe your hours are cut this year or whatever too, but you can give them that simple resource, and that could make the difference for getting back on track faster. And really, it can help a lot of people easily. So keep 211 in your minds for helping people.
Yeah, that's a great resource. I'll have to look into that and I'll have to share it because I think so many people don't ask for help. And it's when we provide these resources and people see that, then they reach out, because I think a lot of people also struggle with even reaching out for help. They feel bad about asking people for help. So when the help is presented, when the help is offered, I think people are more likely to take that.
Yeah, and when you think about somebody that's maybe my daughter's studying to be a psychologist. Think about a psychologist, a social worker, or think about a pastor, minister, a rabbi. They help people, and they're going to pray for you, and then they're going to say, okay, and now if you need these resources, I'm going to send you to these places. They don't do everything themselves. You ask them, how do you manage to deal with hundreds of people in your church or temple or whatever? That's how they do it. You know, and that's the secret. And so if you feel overwhelmed because you have so many people you need to help or want to help, that's a great way to be able to refer them to find the resources they need. And then you give them kindness, you give them the time you can, but then you moderate that to what you're able to do. But you know they're getting the help they need.
Yeah, absolutely. We have to help each other. You know, one person can't help the entire world. This is why we have these different resources and we have different people.
Mm-hmm. So I'd love to hear about how people can get connected. Maybe they want to go work on their bodies or work toward getting the relationship of their dreams and join your programs this year. So how can they connect with you and get started on all that?
Yeah, so I'm mostly on Instagram, and there is a link on my Instagram bio that will take you to all the programs that I'm offering, as well as single one-on-one coaching sessions that I'm currently offering. So my Instagram is at Maggie Dong _, so MAGGIE DONG _. I also have a podcast called Mind Muscle Enlightenment. So if you just want to listen to me talk, if you just want to listen to me sharing stories and bringing guests and having different conversations, you can do that as well.
All right, that's great. So thank you so much again for being a guest on the show, Maggie, and I look forward to hearing more and from the people that join your programs. Okay, thank you. Now stay tuned. We will be back shortly with another guest. All right, stay tuned. For those in the United States and in Canada, 211 in your state or province. And if you Google that, you're going to get a list. And this list is going to be links. So it's going to be CARES, housing assistance programs. It's going to be housing and shelter, food. That's like food banks or ways to get help with food, mental health help, addiction and adult protective services. All right, if you are just tuning in, this is the Sheila Mack Show, reality at its finest. Here we have real people sharing real stories and actionable steps to help you reinvent, rebuild, and reboot your business and personal life on your terms. I'm your host, Sheila Mack, and I wanted to take a moment to reflect on one of my favorite authors and quotes. The quote is, "Create a definite plan for carrying out your desire and begin at once, whether you're ready or not to put this plan into action." And the author was Napoleon Hill. Now, my memory, or my first meeting with Napoleon Hill, was actually back when I was 8 years old, and I did actually mention it in my new book, Bootstraps and Bra Straps, the formula to go from rock bottom back into action in any situation. This was such a changing point in my life. I was 8 years old. I was living house to house. My family was not, my mother and father were having health issues. They weren't really able to care for me full time. So I was sent from one relative's house to the other. Sometimes I was with the healthy grandparents. Sometimes I was with a group of grandparents that wasn't so healthy, and there was a lot of abuse going on. And at this point, I was 8 years old. I remember I was actually in a nice neighborhood. Unfortunately, the home had a lot of abuse going on. My mother was home with me for a short time, and I had taken up some little part-time jobs helping out in the neighborhood. So I would literally, this is back in the day when this was, I guess, the normal thing, I would go help out with cutting the lawn or cleaning and actually polishing furniture when people actually did that. And I would go do that for the neighbors and get money. And so I went with my hard-earned money, and I went over to another neighbor's house who was having a garage sale, and I found this incredible book called Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. And at the time, my little 8-year-old mind, okay, this is 8-year-old mind, there was a lot of abuse, and my mother wasn't financially able to, or health-wise able to help me. She had polio as a child, and she had some other issues going on and emotional things, and so it was hard for her. And in my mind, I thought, okay, this book is going to do it, because it is going to tell me how to think and grow rich. And I really need to do that, because I wanted to get my own house or apartment for my mother and I, so that we wouldn't have to be moving around, and she would be in a safe place and I would be in a safe place. And so I took this book home, and I slept with the book. I read the book Napoleon Hill's Think and Grow Rich from cover to cover. This little 8-year-old girl, I read that book over and over again for an entire year, and I literally still have that original copy with me today. I keep it on my nightstand by my bed, and I still reread it from time to time, and it has been such an incredible gift. And I think that somehow it was something that the principles in there, I took that to heart, a lot of the principles in there, and I really lived by a lot of that, and the idea of creating a definite plan for carrying out your desire and beginning at once, whether you're ready or not. To put the plan into action is something I did often, and I still do today. And so that is just part of the secret sauce to getting back on your feet when you've hit a tough spot and you have to start over again. Sometimes you have to sit down and create a definite plan of what your goals are and your outcomes are, even though you're not, whether you're ready or not to put the plan into action. See, now this year, we're coming out of 2020 and going into a new year, 2021, and all kinds of unknowns still with the universal pause, with COVID. I think that's something you tend to learn about who you really are and do a lot of the self-work when tough times hit. And this year has had us make some course corrections, and some of us have really had an easier time than others. But you get to see, it could be a victory of, oh my gosh, I got through maybe a time that there was a depression, or gosh, the whole business shut down and I had to figure out a new way to survive. Or maybe your rents weren't coming in if you're a landlord, or maybe you didn't have the money to meet the rent and you had to figure out a different way because your job or business got shut down. So these are victories. Celebrate the victories and look at those. That's the gold. And Napoleon Hill has this other 3 feet from gold. And it's not giving up when you're so close to success, to victory. And it may be, this is a great time to redesign your life on your terms and to reinvent your life on your terms, to decide what success means to you now. And it may be different. This year may have you thinking about a different way, a different lifestyle that you want. There's a lot of people that are moving away from big cities. Some people are moving to big cities. I know that I've moved one of my main homes, the main home, away from a big city, and that was actually something I did intentionally before the universal pause, before COVID was a thing, before we even heard about it, and really close to it. It was in October of 2019 that I had made this choice. And it was really to be in a place where there is a lot of event space and places where I could do tons of live events. And so much for that, because we haven't had any live events since. And that's something I do really hope that we get back to at some point. But until then, I have been able to travel the world virtually. And I have events online in Australia, South Africa. I've had events in London. I've had events in all over the United States that have gone national and international online. So the way my thinking about events, how I do events, has changed. And I'm very grateful that I did relocate to a space where that's available. Yet there's also nature and different things that I personally wanted for myself and my family to be able to enjoy, lakes and hikes and swimming and all these great things. So this year, coming up on New Year's, maybe it's a birthday too. Create a definite plan for carrying out your desire and beginning at once, whether you are ready or not, to put this plan into action. A reminder from Napoleon Hill. And I can promise you one thing: you are going to get people, family, friends, loved ones, that when you declare, when you make a public declaration and you say, I am going to do X, Y, or Z, this is my goal, this is my plan. When you say something or you start working toward a plan or a goal, you're going to get some pushback. That I can promise you. And that's going to be out of love, out of protection, sometimes it's out of jealousy or concern. It doesn't matter. You've got to go with your definite plan, and listen to your personal desire, not what somebody else wants for your life, not what maybe you wanted years ago as your success or happiness or whatever that goal or outcome is, whether that's for business or your personal life. This is your time. You can take your power back and your life back this year, going into 2021. This is something, obviously, it's something that needs to happen right now, as soon as possible. It doesn't even have to wait until the 31st of December or the 1st of January to be put into place. It needs to be put into action as soon as possible. Now, I think this is a beautiful time and space for us to have those moments. Well, maybe a lot of us are on the holiday vacation time and you might have some time off from work. It's a great time to take advantage of that space and do that planning. Plan your action steps. Make your decisions. Think about what you're going to do. And so that is really going to give you different results. It doesn't matter what the world is doing as much as what you've decided to do. And that's another Napoleon Hill concept, and that's definiteness of purpose. Once you have the definiteness of purpose, the definite decision has been made, and you plot your course of action. Yes, you may have to course correct. We don't know what surprise is next. That's okay, because as long as you are moving forward, that is going to make all the difference. I also would like to invite those who are interested in an accountability and group program. I am offering a lifestyle design program. It is, yes, I want to reinvent my life on my terms. It is guided by me personally. It's an engaging online training that will help you reboot and reinvent an area of your business or personal life. And while we go through the upgraded life program, you'll notice that the tools, accountability, friendship with the other members will help you as you learn to apply the Boots formula to help you live your life, a more meaningful life on your terms, and get even more happiness while you're participating in your redesign process. I will be guiding you each step of the way to living life and doing business on your terms. So these are small group courses, and this course is actually going to be 50% off. It is a 1-month course. We meet weekly, and there's 2 different times that you can meet, either during the day or an evening time. It's Pacific time. It's live. There's also email response back and forth during the week to help you personalize your lifestyle design. So I'd love to work with you on that. It's a great, affordable way to get into a group setting where you keep each other accountable, and I would love to work with you. So if you are interested in that, go to SheilaMack.com, and there you will see lifestyle design. I want to reinvent my life on my terms, and it is going to be marked at half off. So
I'm looking forward to that, and that there's also a free gift for you. And anybody that's signing up for the course or not, if you go to thesheilamac.com, you will see there is a small mini course. This is a recorded video course that's the introduction to the Boots formula. This is something to watch to get an idea for the Boots formula and how to apply it to your life goals or your business goals for this year. All right, now, don't forget, creating a definite plan for carrying out your desire needs to begin at once. So think of 2 ways you can get started now. And now we are going.
So here it is, my latest book. I have to let you know something, just between you and me. This book is not one size fits all, just like a pair of boots or a bra. So the formula is designed to help you through any situation.
At its finest, and I'm giving you some homework. Grab a copy of my latest book, Bootstraps and Bra Straps, the formula to go from rock bottom back into action in any situation. That's right. If life has knocked you down, get ready to pick yourself back up and give